everyone, welcome to episode 24 of Otome Shimai.
I'm Vki.
And I'm Vka.
And we are sisters who play Otome games.
Welcome to episode 24.
It is episode 24.
What are we doing today on episode 24?
This week, we're actually returning to the first series we ever started on this podcast with Why Would You Do That? Part 5.
You mean, why would you do this?
No. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Why would you do this? Why would anyone do this? Why would anyone do that?
Please stop saying this.
Okay, well, anyways, this was the first series we ever did on this podcast, and that is how we started doing so many miniseries.
Yes, it worked out.
We just kept going. So now we're doing Why Would You Do That?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call it Why Would You Do That?
So am I.
Good.
But first...
Who are you doing this week?
Oh, I love that song. I was busy. I did one day of Ikemen. I'm still on Isaac's route.
So you weren't really doing anyone, to be honest.
Work's been really busy.
Okay, yeah, I know, I understand.
I work in HR, it's open enrollment.
Okay, well, I have also been really busy, but I don't work in HR, so it's like a steady level of busy. And I was busy with who I was doing this week.
And who were you doing this week?
I was finishing Limbo's route in TAFELLOWS. Like, I actually finished Limbo's route.
I'm so proud of you.
I'm so proud of me, too.
What did you think?
I actually really liked it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm really into Limbo's route. Well, not necessarily Limbo's route itself, but TAFELLOWS overall. Like, I did not realize this game was going to be so heart-wrenching.
It is heart-wrenching. It's a very, very raw game.
Yeah. But an enjoyable story nonetheless.
Yeah, it's gonna make you cry.
Yep. I saw, at least on some of the review posts, that Limbo's route is the least raw.
It is.
I am looking forward to and not looking forward to the rest of the routes, but I'm excited to play the game at least.
I hope you love Shu as much as I do.
Well, I definitely love his hair clips.
I love his hair clips. He's got panda hair clips.
Yeah, the Gatmo is great there.
I love it. It's great. Anyways.
Today's topic?
In our Why Would You Do That series, we discuss tropes we've noticed in Otome games over the years. Some of them are simple, but some of them are overly specific. MC has a secret brother who hates her and wants to ruin her life is still one of my favorites.
That one is very overly specific. I prefer to go the simple route. MC dates animals. Simple and to the point.
And problematic.
Agreed.
Anyways, this week we have 4 new tropes we're going to discuss. With the first one, we have a little bit of a love-hate relationship. Vka?
MC wanders around in the dark after being specifically told not to wander around in the dark.
This actually happens in a lot of games.
It really does. The first time we noticed this trope ever was in Hanasaku Mani Mani.
And Hanasaku Mani Mani, because we haven't talked about it in a while, is a game that we played together in Japanese on the PS3 in like 2014?
Yeah, it is not localized.
It's no, it's also not very good. But the MC definitely wanders around at night after being told not to a lot. She nearly gets killed by an arrow because she wanders around at night. She gets yelled at a lot, and she does it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, this MC doesn't have a lot of common sense.
Most MCs don't have a lot of common sense.
That is not true. Not all MCs are like this MC.
So something that has been increasingly common in Otome games is that MCs have more and more of a brain.
Yes.
In the older ones, MCs tended to be more of a blank slate, and I feel like some of the developers equated blank slate to brainless. So they were kind of dumb.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a much earlier game. So this MC does not behave the same way as some of the more recent ones do. And she does. They tell her specifically not to go out, not to wander around because she's in danger, and she decides to go out and wander around and put herself in danger. So that was the first time we ever noticed this because we were like, why would you do that?
Hey!
Yeah. Just gotta remind everyone what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. So there are a couple of other games that we want to talk about that this happens in. Diabolik Lovers, this whole series, this constantly happens because Yui is another one of those MCs that lacks common sense. And unfortunately, you would think that after the first few games, she would start to realize that maybe she shouldn't go wandering around in the dark when she's around a bunch of vampires.
Yeah, I would expect someone who had been bitten by vampires while wandering around in the middle of the night outside to learn very quickly to not wander around in the middle of the night outside.
She spends a lot of time just like wandering in the rose gardens or wandering in the hallways or wandering in the forest.
Yes, and that is how we end up with all of those sexy blood-sucking scenes with Shu.
I mean, vampire ASMR.
That's right. Go back and listen to that one if you're interested.
Oh, yeah.
So what's another game where MC wanders around in the dark after being specifically told not to?
So this one I think is really interesting because it's less of MC being stupid and more of MC being curious, and that's Obey Me, and specifically Season 1. Season 1 of Obey Me, there are a lot of secrets going on.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Yeah, and MC is kind of trying to explore and figure out what's going on, and the way that they do it isn't necessarily stupid, but they definitely do take risks.
She does. Or they do.
Yeah, and the way that it happens is basically Lucifer, one of the LIs, tells MC, you know, don't, like, stick your nose into places it doesn't belong. Don't look into this place. Don't look into that place. And MC's kind of like, okay, he's telling me not to do this for a reason, but I think I'm here to figure out the reason.
Yeah, I actually like this. This doesn't quite give me the why would you do that feeling, but they do. They do go around and wander around and try to figure things out on their own after being told not to.
Yeah. So it you know, it fits.
It fits.
If the shoe fits.
If the shoe fits.
You want to go back to a little bit more of the brainless?
You mean Ikemen Vampire?
Yeah, so this I thought was really interesting because we played Ikemen Sengoku far before we played Ikemen Vampire, and so when I went into Ikemen Vampire, I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna love the MC in Ikemen Vampire because the MC in Ikemen Sengoku is so awesome.
We were definitely expecting a similar experience.
Yeah, and that did not happen.
No, this character, she's...
We have feelings about the MC from Ikemen Vampire, and we'll talk more about that when we do a mobile romance episode eventually on Ikemen Vampire. We have to finish Season 1 first. But the Ike Vamp MC definitely has a case of the wander around in the dark holes at night.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah, especially at the beginning of each of the routes. As the routes go on, it doesn't really matter as much because she becomes closer to the vampires in the house, and it's not that much of an issue with anyone, like, trying to attack her or trying to be like, oh, hey, like, you need to be more careful. But at the beginning of each route, there's definitely, like, she gets told very specifically, you should stay in your room, it's safe there, don't wander around at night, but, nope,
Well, in the beginning of the route, or at least in the prologue, she doesn't even believe that they're vampires.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, kind of. I don't know. If you had time traveled back to, like, 19th century France, I feel like it might open up your mind to a few other things.
My world would be spinning, and I would see all options as possible, because, number one, time travel is not something I do on the regular. And number two, I've never met a vampire, but if I'm time traveling, vampires are not that far out of left field.
That's true. That's true. So she probably should have been a little smarter with that.
Yeah, that was our point.
Yeah. Stay in your room. So this next trope has something to do with time, I suppose. And it's not time travel, but it's the amount of time someone has lived.
Yes. The LI is hundreds to thousands of years older than the MC, and it's not a problem.
But it should be.
Yeah, definitely should be. One of the ones that fits this trope is Saint Germain from Code Realize.
Yeah, and is that even mentioned at all? Is the fact that he is extremely old a problem at all in his route?
I don't specifically remember it being an issue between the two of them in their relationship. It was more the fact that he had this mission that he had to accomplish that was preventing him from actually starting some kind of romance or relationship with her. So it had nothing to do with the story, him being thousands of years old.
Oh, okay. Well, see, not a problem.
Yeah, but it should have been.
Yeah. Actually, going back into the mobile games, Obey Me is another one of those, where the LIs are hundreds to thousands of years older than MC.
That's a good point. Lucifer is the devil. Well, Is Diavolo the devil?
They're fallen angels.
Either way, they're angels, demons, whatever.
Old.
Pre-humans, definitely.
Yeah, and the thing is, in this game, you don't actually know how old the MC is. The MC in Obemi is very vague. You don't have a gender, you don't have pronouns, you don't have any type of physical descriptors.
What is the lifespan for a sheep in the wild, anyway?
10 to 12 years.
Okay, so MC's at least 12 years old.
That's very problematic considering some of the content in Obemi.
Agreed. Yeah, I think this one's a little bit weird, but I don't see it as being that problematic, I guess, shown in the roots, but it definitely is. They are quite a bit older than she is. Oh my god, why can't, because I'm a she, and my name is there, and I go Vka, Vka, and I say she, and they they sheep.
So, once again, the Obemi MC does not have a gender or pronouns, but since Vka's MC is a she, that's why she's saying she.
I'm sorry. But yeah, it really should be a problem.
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that there are a whole bunch of demons suddenly in love with you, I feel like that would be generally problematic. I don't think I'd enjoy that very much.
And the fact that they're all brothers, related to each other.
Yeah, that is a little weird. Although they're not necessarily like brothers. That's okay. We're talking too much about Obemi. We'll do that.
We'll do that in a different episode.
So I actually think that the best example of this trope, allies are hundreds to thousands of years older than MC and it's not a problem, is a more recent game, Café Enchante.
Yes, Café Enchante. Kotone is only 19, right?
Yeah, Kotone is 19 years old, and literally only one of the allies is quote-unquote age-appropriate for her.
And which one is that?
That's Ignis, and he's 25.
Okay, so 19 to 25, there's a gap, but not that big of a gap.
Yeah, exactly. But the other allies, there are 4 other allies. 3 of them are hundreds to thousands of years old.
So, big age gap.
Huge age gap. And they're also not human. So maybe that's why people don't have a problem with it. The one that people do have a problem with is the one who's 42 years old.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
I see exactly what you mean. Okay. I don't quite understand this because 500 to thousands of years older than a 19-year-old is a much bigger difference than 42 to 19.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if you're going to consider one of them problematic, you should consider all of them problematic.
Yeah, it could have to do more with like the societal understanding because they are both like this 42-year-old Li is a human.
Yeah, he's a human.
And so is Kotone.
Yes.
So there is something there in terms of like societal expectations for what is right and wrong.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I definitely think that that's why some people got upset about him being 42 years old. But I think my point stands. You know, this is a fantasy game that is going to have things like this.
Yeah.
If you're going to get upset about a 42-year-old dating a 19-year-old, you should also get upset about a 10,000-year-old dating a 19-year-old.
Agree. And in this game, it's not like time is slower or faster for any of these inhuman people, right?
No.
So they've lived lives much longer than Kotone could even have imagined. I don't know. I think it's a bit weird that it's not as problematic.
Speaking of really old men.
The next trope is MC's boyfriend is a vampire.
We've played a lot of games where they're vampires.
That's right. And to me, that's not a problem. I love the vampire games. I think it's great. I mean, the number one that we always talk about is Diabolik Lovers.
Yeah, Diabolik Lovers has a lot of vampires in it. It also has a couple of werewolves, but they're mostly vampires.
Yes. Interestingly enough, I think these vampires are the same age as the MC, right?
So, some of them are. Diabolik Lovers has some continuity issues. The 6 original allies, I'm pretty sure, are still supposed to be in high school, like Yui, the MC, is.
Yeah.
And then I'm also pretty sure the 4 extra vampire allies are supposed to also be in high school. But like I said, continuity issues, and also it takes place in kind of a different world because it seems like they go to like a Japanese-style high school, and then Their names are mostly Japanese, but then when you see flashbacks, it's like they're living in this vaguely European place, and it seems like it took place hundreds of years ago, and it's a little confusing.
Yeah, isn't there a scene where one of the allies, who you think is around the same age as Yui, starts talking about things they remember from hundreds of years ago?
That's one of the werewolves, though.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah, so, who knows? Continuity errors, continuity issues in Diabolik Lovers, just accept it. It's supposed to be vampire ASMR. It's not supposed to make sense.
I mean, Ikemen Vampire also doesn't really make sense. You get to date historical figures.
I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And also in Ikemen Vampire, all but one of the allies are vampires.
That's true.
It's called Ikemen Vampire.
Not Ikemen Human.
Ikemen Men!
Ikemen Men!
Ikemen Men! No, but I mean, that game, it makes sense, because that's the entire plot, that they are vampires. There are some underlying plot points that come with each of the vampires.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, in some of the roots, the fact that the ally is a vampire doesn't seem to be a big issue. Like, it's more interpersonal issues and the fact that MC is a time traveler than the fact that the allies are vampires.
Yeah, the interpersonal issue, I think, is one of the biggest things. Like, they don't always get along with her, or they do get along with her, but then they realize that she has to go back home at some point. And it has very little to do with them actually being a vampire or, like, turning her. I still don't quite understand how the turning works in this game, but whatever.
Maybe we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, maybe we'll figure it out. In this case, I don't really feel like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? In Dia-Lovers, yes, why would you date any of them is a valid question.
Why would you do anything in Diabolik Lovers?
But in Ikemen Vampire, it doesn't bother me. I quite like the vampireness of it.
Well, also a big difference between Diabolik Lovers and Ikemen Vampire is that in Diabolik Lovers, they make it pretty clear that blood-sucking can be painful, and in Ikemen Vampire, it's...
an aphrodisiac.
Yes.
Okay, that contributes to a quite different experience on the player.
It definitely does.
What other games do MCs date vampires?
So, Romeo versus Juliet, which is an old Quinn Rose game.
Didn't play this one.
No, you didn't, and you can't really play it anymore because Quinn Rose no longer exists. Well, actually, Quinn Rose Reborn exists. It's an Ultimate offshoot now, but as far as I know, they're not currently doing anything with the Romeo versus Juliet series. But what it is it's basically Romeo and Juliet, but Juliet is a vampire hunter and Romeo's a vampire.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it actually was a really interesting game. I liked it quite a bit. I never finished the sequel, Romeo and Juliet. I should, though.
Are all of the love interests vampires like Romeo?
No. Only about half of the allies are vampires. Everyone on Romeo's side. Because all of the characters are from the book Romeo and Juliet.
I see. Okay. So they actually do, like, if you're related to a vampire, you're a vampire. If you're not related to a vampire, you're not a vampire.
Yeah. I mean, I played it a while ago, but as far as I remember, yes.
Okay.
And then I think the last one on our list is Hugo from Love Drops.
Love Drops.
Hugo is a vampire with no interest in sucking blood, and he's also a non-human who just happened to pop through MC's closet one day and mistook her for her grandmother.
You know?
Yeah.
These are things that happen in life.
They are. Well, they're things that happen in Otome games. By the way, be very careful when you're Googling Love Drops.
It's that kind of game.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, let's talk about my favorite Why Would You Do That? And this isn't quite so much a why would you do that on the MC's part, but I feel like we've talked about this a lot in the podcast and haven't really explained it. And that's the concept of Wawa boyfriends.
So this one is all Vka's because she came up with the term and she feels very strongly about this.
It's not so much that I came up with the term, or maybe did I? Oh, wow.
You did.
Amazing. I noticed a pattern, at least when playing through Otome games, that there were characters that I decidedly did not get along with and did not really feel were my type. And I labeled them as Wawa boyfriends. Basically, the requirement is that the Wawa boyfriend is automatically in love with the MC without the MC having to do really anything.
And they go, Wawa!
They're very excitable, and I think that's the thing that gets to me. This isn't really, like I said, this isn't really a why would you do that trope. It's more of a personality type, but I think it's something we've talked about a lot, and I really want to make sure that everyone understands what I mean when I say Wawa boyfriend.
We do. There are like 5 episodes where we'll describe someone as a Wawa boyfriend, and I'm sure the listeners are like, what the heck is a Wawa boyfriend?
Yeah, we made this up. It's not a thing. You are not going to be able to Google it and find it. Actually, I should try Googling it and see what happens.
I don't think anything is going to come up that makes sense.
Okay, well, either way, let's go through our list of Wawa boyfriends. I think the first one that I really noticed was from Code Realize, Impy Barbicane.
Yeah, you definitely told me about Impy and described him as a Wawa boyfriend.
Yeah, and I think there are others from games that I played before I played Code Realize, but with this one, Impy just really got on my nerves. Because he's automatically in love with Cardia. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or oshidis about it.
No oshidis.
No oshidis. I just don't understand why he fell so deeply in love with her and she didn't say a word to him.
She's cute.
Oh, dear. Not my favorite type of ally. But Impy is a Wawa boyfriend. That's for sure.
Who else is a Wawa boyfriend?
Another Wawa boyfriend is Enomoto Mineo from Color Malice.
So it's interesting that you say that because he doesn't automatically fall in love with the MC.
That's true. And like I said, I think it's more of a personality trait as opposed to being a why would you do that kind of trope. Because one thing about Enomoto is he has no experience with women and he just does not know how to control his feelings. He's very excitable. He's like very focused when anything has to do with women.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing that I didn't like about him. I did, however, like his route. And once you get to kind of know him in the game, it's very enjoyable to play through and whatnot. But in the very beginning, he stood out to me as a Wawa boyfriend.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's another Wawa boyfriend in the game that I'm playing now. And in TAFELLOWS, I definitely think Scarecrow is going to be a Wawa boyfriend.
Oh, definitely. Scarecrow is absolutely a Wawa boyfriend.
I haven't done Scarecrow's route. Like I said earlier, I've only gone through Limbo's route, but I can see it coming because as soon as he meets the MC, he just blushes and gets all like flustered and says things, and he's a little like horn dog. It's so, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about him, but he feels Wawa to me.
So is part of a Wawa boyfriend maybe someone who is a little bit like maybe they don't always know how to interact with women, or maybe they're a little too overly enthusiastic when they see a cute girl?
I think that's a good way of describing it, yeah. Maybe not necessarily automatically in love with, but yeah, it's that excitableness and that really not knowing what to say, getting really flustered. I don't know. It's just not quite my type.
And you know, you say that, but the next character on your list of Wawa boyfriends is your favorite character from Hakuouki.
Heisuke.
You love Heisuke.
I know. I do love Heisuke. Okay, so I'm totally breaking all of my rules here, and I think that Heisuke is one of the best characters in that game. You can quote me on that. But he is a little bit Wawa. I don't think he's super, super Wawa because he's, got some sass to him. He's pretty kick-ass.
But he's also very blushy.
But he's also very blushy, very cute, very, like, excitable. I don't know. I don't know what it is about Heisuke that made me feel like, ooh, he's like the right one for me. But, to each their own.
I remember you got really excited when he got the haircut.
Oh, I really love the short hair. The long hair was okay, but the short hair was really, really cute.
You weren't into, like, the little puff of bangs that he had when he had the long hair?
And the ponytail? No. It was not my type. Interestingly enough, another Li on my list of Wawa boyfriends is voiced by the same voice actor as Heisuke, who is Yoshino Hiroyuki, and that's Heishi from Norn 9.
Heisuke and Heishi.
Heisuke and Heishi. Yep. I don't necessarily think Heishi's as much of a Wawa boyfriend, but I think the way that Yoshino Hiroyuki plays him and the way that he voices his lines makes it seem more Wawa than he really is.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So maybe the voice actor has something to do with it too.
Yeah, it could be. Kind of like the way that the person voices the lines and kind of the tone that it is, because the excitableness really comes across in voice lines.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that Impi was the first Wawa boyfriend that you noticed, because Morikubo Shotaro, does he play any other Wawa boyfriends that you can think of?
Not that I can think of. I mean, Morikubo Shotaro plays Gil.
Yeah.
And I love Gil.
Yeah.
And he is not Wawa.
No. Gil, we're talking about Gil from Pio Fiore.
Yes, not Gil from
Cupid Parasite.
Exactly. Gil from Pio Fiore, he's got the same voice actor as Impy Barbicane. And we really love Gil, like we've said this before, and he's not Wawa at all. So, I don't know. It's probably more the way that the voice actor does it in conjunction with how the character is portrayed and how the character acts. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are there any Wawa boyfriends in Alice in the Land of Hearts?
So, that's really interesting, because in Alice in the Land of Hearts, one of the big things about that game is that the world that they live in has a quote-unquote rule that outsiders are loved. Mm-hmm. And since Alice, the MC, is an outsider, that means that everyone automatically likes her. But I think the only one who you could really consider to be like an overly excitable Wawa boyfriend would be Peter White.
But isn't Peter a yandere?
Yeah, that's the thing. Most Wawa boyfriends don't lock you in cages.
Agreed. None of the Wawa boyfriends on my list here have ever locked the MC in a cage.
Yeah, so, I mean, some of the other LIs in Alice in the Land of Hearts might be a little bit Wawa, but I don't know if anyone can be considered a pure Wawa boyfriend.
Okay, well, either way, we will continue to talk about Wawa boyfriends, and as I play through these games, I will be able to spot the Wawa boyfriend from a mile away.
Yes, and now everyone will know what you mean when you say that someone is a Wawa boyfriend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know why I said you're welcome. Anyways, in conclusion, Vka, I mean, I think I know what your answer is, but which one of these tropes do you have the strongest feelings about?
It's definitely Wawa boyfriend.
And what is your feeling?
My feeling is that I don't like them. Except for Heisuke. No, that's not true. I just think that there is a type, and usually it doesn't match with the kind of allies that I go for.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I have the strongest feelings about those. What about you?
So out of all of these tropes, I think the one that I feel the strongest about is MC wanders around in the dark after being specifically told not to wander around in the dark. It makes me really mad because I feel like I cannot relate to people who do that. I'm very risk averse.
Yes.
In some ways, I mean, I also decided to pack up all of my stuff into a suitcase and move to a different country when I was younger. But it's a different kind of risk averse. Like, if someone tells me specifically, that dark place, danger, do not go there, I will not go there.
That's right. You are not Yui.
No, I am not. Please. Ugh.
Yeah, that gets on my nerves a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, you're also risk averse that.
Yes, I am. I would be curious, though.
About what the danger was.
About what the danger was, exactly.
But you wouldn't be curious enough to go and see?
Probably not.
And you wouldn't forget that somebody told you not to do that. That
is also true.
Yeah.
I think another one that I have strong feelings about is LIs are hundreds to thousands of years older than MC, and it's not a problem. Mm-hmm. That's very frequent, and I don't really understand why no one ever talks about it in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that it should be addressed more often. Like, if the MC is a high school girl who's dating a demon that's 3,000 years old, that should be discussed at some point in time.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess 300-year-old demons have to type.
Anyways.
Thanks for listening and joining us on another journey through the Otome tropes in our mini-series, Why Would You Do That?
Are there any LIs that we didn't mention here that fit these descriptions? Please reach out and let us know on Twitter.
If you like what you hear and would like to support us, we have a Buy Me a Coffee account where you can donate to us, keeping the podcast going.
We also have Twitter and Instagram where you can stay updated on what we're up to and other cool Otome-related stuff.
Thanks everyone for listening. Bye!